The Holy Bible, the King James Version. The Book of Psalms, Psalm 1. Blessed is the man that walketh not in the counsel of the ungodly, nor standeth in the way of sinners, nor sitteth in the seat of the scornful. But his delight is in the law of the Lord, and in his law doth he meditate day and night. And he shall be like a tree planted by the rivers of water, that bringeth forth his fruit in his season. His leaf also shall not wither, and whatsoever he doeth shall prosper. The ungodly are not so, but are like the chaff which the wind driveth away. Therefore the ungodly shall not stand in the judgment, nor sinners in the congregation of the righteous. For the Lord knoweth the way of the righteous, but the way of the ungodly shall perish.
Hello. Welcome to Toronto. I'm your host, Mike Sampat, and today we're going to talk about some debate analysis between some Muslims, and maybe we'll get to the atheists too, hopefully. But first, let me say a prayer real quick. Who we got today? Hey, Christian, how are you, brother? Hey, Glory, how are you, bro? God bless, man. Well, let me just... Heavenly Father, Almighty God, Father, may the words of my mouth and the meditation of my heart be acceptable unto you, O God, our rock and our redeemer. Father, I'm about to look at these videos by a certain Muslim debater and atheist debate team, and we just want to ask for your wisdom and guidance to analyze these things in a way that brings out your truth and honors you and glorifies you, Father. Glorifies the name of your holy Son, Jesus Christ. Bless the listeners, Father. Give them wisdom, give them discernment, give them understanding. Help them to become strong defenders of the faith as well, and stronger than me, and have good knowledge and good understanding and good logical reasoning. And we ask all this in the name of your holy Son, Jesus Christ. On him be glory forever and ever. Amen. Prayers are needed. Are you talking about the young man that was talking to us earlier? I agree, yes, prayers are needed for sure. I'll definitely be praying for him, but I also talked to him. Your dad too? Okay. What happened with your dad, if you don't mind? Or if you want to talk, we can talk about it later, but I'll definitely pray for him. That's unfortunate, bro. But yeah, it's tough these days, man. People, they always want to look for another reason, but they also it's not always like they're rebelling or in rebellion. They're often just like they want to have this notion that they're thinking for themselves, that they're not being tricked, and a lot of people make them feel as if they are being tricked, and that's just the unfortunate reality of that. But anyway, you pray for my great grandma in heaven? Sure, I will. I show his evidence that his beliefs are based on a fraudulent book and he's depressed now. His beliefs? Your dad has some other book that he believes in? I didn't know that. I'd love to see you debate Muslims. Okay, I'll get into it, bro. Well, I mean, it is sad that he's depressed, but you know what? It's all right. Like sometimes maybe that's just it can't be helped, because sometimes the truth hurts, and so they have to go through that season of sadness while they readjust their worldview, But keep praying for him and keep being there for him, and it's okay. You rant, yeah. I never heard of that. don't know about that. Anyway, I'll find out about that, and I'll definitely be praying for your dad. Yeah, it's for the best, dude. It's for the best. Don't worry. But we'll keep talking about it. That is depressing though. Wow. The boats thing is also kind of hitting me too, man. But it's okay. It's okay. These things happen. That's not the end of the world. We still have a chance to fix things. So keep working on that. Okay, let me just show you this thing. Okay. So last night I was watching this debate on Standing for Truth channel, and I ended up because I was so passionate about it. I ended up dropping like $25 in super chats just so I could force this guy to answer my questions, right? But it's okay. It's worth it. You know why? It's worth it because we got to just say the quiet part out loud, and that's what's worth it. You know, doesn't matter if I'll pay $25 for that, and also hopefully to help you guys understand these issues a little bit better. But let's see what they say here.
Ongoing evolution debate challenge series for the last 3 to 4 years. A challenge to anybody who believes they're related to whales, pine trees, and banana plants to step up in debate. So we've had many step up, and we've had many debates. So, well, that's cool, Eric. I'm going to have to go back and watch that video and look out for you. Again, Eric and Dan, the time leading up to it, you know, it requires a lot of study and prep for these debates. Here we go. Toronto Bible Study, $5 super chat. I appreciate the supporting question. Looks like it's for Daniel, I'm assuming. How do you identify what Allah revealed in the gospel if you dismiss the gospel's central claim that Jesus was crucified, Daniel?
So this is my first question. So, I mean, what I wanted to talk about this part is that what this guy's going to do right now is basically redefine the question. So this is how they win these debates, quote unquote, right? They change the rules midstream. First, he's going to redefine the word gospel or Injil. Then he's going to accuse me of cherry picking, even though I just followed his exact criteria. Then he admits that there's no evidence for his claim that there were insertions into the gospel. And then I'm going to show you how the Islamic dilemma and how it works and how to keep them pinned on it, okay? So let's get into this.
Yeah, actually, thank you for that question. In fact, what is the central claim of the gospel? The central claim of the gospel is the very teachings that Jesus issued out of his own mouth. That's central to gospel. So any other narrative that's part of the gospel which Jesus did not verbalize.
So maybe I should explain this a little bit better. Hold on a sec. So this is Surah 547. So let the people of the gospel judge by what Allah has revealed in it. And those who do not judge by what Allah has revealed are truly the rebellious. So Muhammad, I mean, Allah is saying this to Muhammad according to their book, right? Allah is telling Muhammad to let the people of the gospel, that's us, the Christians, the people of the gospel, people of the Injil, to judge by what Allah has revealed in it. That is, he's saying that God has revealed the contents of the gospel and that we can judge by it. All right? And those who do not judge by what Allah has revealed in it are truly rebellious. Okay? So that's what I'm asking about. When I say, how do you identify what Allah has revealed in the gospel, Q547, if you dismiss the gospel's central claim that Jesus was crucified? Because this whole debate is about, was Jesus crucified? Right? And so he dismisses the claim that Jesus was crucified. So how is he supposed to? How are people supposed to judge by what Allah has revealed in the gospel? Okay, that's what I'm trying to get him to understand now. Now, let's see what he says.
Yeah, actually, thank you for that question. In fact, what is the central claim of the gospel? The central claim of the gospel is the very teachings that Jesus issued out of his own mouth. That's central to gospel. So any other narrative that's part of the gospel which Jesus did not verbalize cannot become central to the gospel. So
he's trying to do this is like the sleight of hand here, right? He's redefining gospel to mean only the sayings of Jesus. Now, that's not how the word gospel was used historically, or even in the gospel books themselves, which are narratives, right? They're telling a whole story, and that story is the gospel, right? So if you let him do this, now he's free to just throw away anything he doesn't like. Anything he doesn't like in a story, the crucifixion, the resurrection, even Jesus' prediction of his own crucifixion, he could just say, "Oh, that's not central because that's not Jesus' own teachings or what have you," right? So, but notice that he said the central claim of the gospel is the very teachings that Jesus issued out of his own mouth. That's what he said. All right, let's hear this again.
So that Jesus issued out of his own of the gospel is the very claim of the gospel. The central claim of the gospel is the very teachings that Jesus issued out of his own mouth.
So the central claim of the gospel is the very teachings that Jesus issued out of his own mouth. All right. So that's why I'm going to say, I mean, his tactic here, the tactic number one here is redefine the object of the debate. It's no longer just the gospel. Now it's only the words of Jesus is out of his own mouth. All right. He's but you like show me where the Qur'an defines the Injil as only Jesus' spoken words and excludes all the narrative claims of the gospel. It doesn't, right? So that's his first claim that he tried to do. Because once you do that, you can just throw out anything you don't like from the story, right? Anyway, that was my first question.
So any other narrative
then
part of the gospel.
Then another guy asked a question. Then I asked the question again.
Has given you teachings that you have to one day he's going to separate better than the Pharisees did to uphold the glory of God's kingdom. If you failed, then you fail. You will be condemned to hell. And that's why on Judgment Day, he's going to separate the goats from a determinism.
Much for the support and question for tonight's debate. I'm assuming it's for you, Daniel. If only Jesus's words are authoritative, then do you accept Jesus's own predictions of being killed / crucified?
Yeah, there you go. Again, you want to cherry pick those verses from the gospel accounts which kind of align to your beliefs and doctrines, but you want to ignore the bulk material.
See what he's saying? I want to cherry pick those words. He's trying to say I cherry picked words. He's the one who's cherry picking. Only Jesus's words are central to the gospel, right? That's what he just said. You just heard him say that, right? Now when I show him Jesus's own words, Jesus himself predicted his own crucifixion, right? So how do you reject that? So that's Jesus's own words, right? And you said Jesus's own words are central. So I'm saying Jesus predicted his own crucifixion. So how can you deny that, right? Now he's trying to say, "Oh, I'm cherry picking those words." So the truth is he only wants Jesus' words when it helps him, and he rejects Jesus' words when it hurts him, you know?
Material out there which doctrines, but you want to from the gospel accounts. There you go. Again, you want to cherry pick those verses from the gospel accounts which kind of align to your beliefs and doctrines, but you want to ignore the bulk material out there which directly contradicts this. Okay, in the Garden of Gethsemane, when Jesus prays to Almighty God, he doesn't even know what that cup, what the difficulty.
You see what they start doing? This is what they do. They start monologuing, right? He's completely ignoring my question. Now he's trying to say that because Jesus went into the Garden of Gethsemane and started praying, that therefore his own predictions of his own crucifixion are not true. You know what I'm saying? When we know that when Jesus was in the garden, he knew that his prediction was going to come true, that he was going to get crucified. That's why he was praying. So it's just ludicrous what this person is doing, right? But that's what they do. They'll just kind of glide past your question and then start monologuing. So what you want to do to hold them down is just ask them, do you accept Jesus' own death predictions as authentic? Yes or no? Because he just said that Jesus' own teachings are central to the gospel and other things you can reject. Well, I'm asking him about Jesus' own teachings, right? So that's another thing that they do. This is just the fakery of these people. And then he starts saying that it's a fabrication or something. Hang on. Let me find this thing.
Ignore these developments that happen in Jesus's life. Why should I ignore it? I cannot possibly ignore this. So Jesus never predicted his death, as stated in some of the passages, which is a fabrication. Because if he had, then there was no.
So he's saying that Jesus never predicted his death. That's a fabrication. He doesn't cite anything. He's just telling you it's a fabrication. Why would I believe that's a fabrication? What evidence does he have that there's a fabrication that Jesus predicted his own death? Every single gospel writer tells us of this thing. All four of them, right? So you have four different authors stating this thing that Jesus said. And this guy's saying it's a fabrication based on nothing. When he previously said that Jesus' own words and his own teachings are the central claim of the gospel. And that is what we should like kind of believe according to Surah 547 in the Qur'an, right? But now he's trying to say, no, that's a fabrication. Well, they'll just say anything. They'll just say literally anything to win a debate, you know? They don't care about the truth.
There was no need for him to fall down in the Garden of Gethsemane and pray to God, not knowing what would happen to him. So
what? And then this other thing, like if he didn't know what would happen to him, why would he be praying like that? He knew what was going to happen. That's why he's praying. That's why he's scared. That's why he was like, not scared, but he was like worried. He was bleeding tears, or his tears were coming down like blood, right? So if you try to claim that something was later inserted into the Bible or a fabrication, you have to produce some kind of manuscript evidence or something like that, right? If you can't do that, then that's just an assertion. Excuse me, it's just storytelling. He's literally just storytelling. He's trying to psychologize Jesus, trying to analyze Jesus's psychology in the Garden of Gethsemane and somehow prove that the Gospels are fabricated. It's ridiculous, okay? So let me show you this other clip here. You can watch this video. It's the debate was Jesus crucified? And I mean, I asked about 5 questions to this guy. This guy just does nothing but scrambling. But he can't. But I'm glad I spent that money because it just shows how fake they are. He cannot answer these questions. He cannot. So he has to say anything he can to get around it, you know?
We can save it for another debate. I understand you're going to try and go and work around and say, well, here's why I don't have. But
so this is my other question. Jesus said he would be crucified in the gospel. You said Jesus' teachings are the Injil in Qur'an 547. You were dodging my questions, right? So now these two, this is the guy who was debating him, the Christian guy debating him on whether Jesus was crucified. And this is Donnie. He runs the channel. So now they're grilling him a little bit about where are you getting this claim that there was some kind of fabrication or insertion into the gospel? Where is that from? What are you basing that on, right? So that's why he's trying to answer now. But look what's going to happen here.
It's just a legit question. Do you have a source?
No, I don't think I have a Gospel of Mark, an antecedent to what we have right now, the version that we have right now. I don't think so. I have it.
Okay,
I don't
well,
think so. Any,
So he doesn't. So this is where he admits. He admits he has no evidence of this supposed insertion into the Gospel of Mark. Because if you're trying to say that there's some kind of thing in the Gospel of Mark that wasn't there originally, right? Then what you would have to produce is some kind of earlier copy where it was like demonstrated that it wasn't there, that line that you say was added, or some scholar who agrees with that position or something like that. That would be a reasonable position or evidence for your position. He doesn't have anything, nothing. Okay, let's hear this again.
I don't think I have a Gospel of Mark, an antecedent to what we have right now, the version that we have right now. I don't think so. I have it.
Okay,
I don't
well, I
think so. Any
appreciate
scholars
it.
have it. Yeah.
Okay,
So he was been claiming the whole time that this claim of Jesus that he was that he was going to be crucified is an assertion, is a fabrication, right? But when pressed for the evidence or some kind of text previous to Mark, he admits that he doesn't have it. So that means his method is just, I don't like this doctrine, therefore it must be fake. It must be fabrication. That's not scholarship. That's just his theology and masquerading as text criticism, you know? No. Oh, by the way, when someone claims stuff like this, you can kind of say, I mean, you just know that they're not really debating you anymore. They're just performing, you know. They don't really have any evidence for their position. They're just stating stuff, you know. Now, that's all I really want to show you from that debate. But I did want to show you this from Surah 547 again. So the Islamic dilemma, right? If you want to talk to a Muslim about Christianity and why the Quran is false, right? You use this verse. So let the people of the gospel judge by what Allah has revealed in it. And those who do not judge by what Allah has revealed are truly the rebellious. Okay? So they should be, that means that Christians at the time of Muhammad should be able to look in the gospels in their hand, the gospel books in their hand, and judge by what God or Allah has revealed in it, right? But if they say, "Oh no, it's just only what the Muslims approve of in the gospel," then this verse has no meaning, because they're just saying that the gospel is whatever Islam says is the gospel. But that's not what this says. This is telling the Christian of Muhammad's day to look in the gospel in their hand at the time and examine to find what is in it and judge by what is in it. Okay. Now, what you can ask is, was the gospel usable for Christians then? Yes or no, right? If they say no, that means the law is commanding people to judge by a book they can't access. So that means the law gave some useless instruction here. And if they say yes, then their claim that the Bible was corrupted, which they always try to say, it completely collapses. And they have to give some kind of method for how a Christian should identify what Allah has revealed in the gospel without actually looking at the Quran or something like that. Because that's not what this doesn't say look in the Quran, it says look in the gospel, right? So they have to give you some kind of way for a Christian to understand what Allah has revealed in the gospel without checking in the Quran or anything, you know? If their method is just whatever matches the Quran, that's like just a circular logic. It's their filter, you know? Now when you bring up this thing about the Islamic dilemma, they have their little dodges that they do, you know? So that's the thing, you gotta be careful with it. Like what they'll often do is well, let me show you a bit more of the context here. Oh, sorry, I'm not even showing you this. I'm sorry, you guys. I was supposed to be showing you the Islamic dilemma thing, right? My bad. My bad, you guys. I was trying to show you this. Anyway, I'll cut that part. Well, these best arguments against the gospel is we don't know who wrote them, and scholarship dates them later than most of the characters. Scholarship? Well, that's debatable. I mean, it's not like it's some universal claim by scholars that that's true. Matthew 9:9 would be speaking about itself in the third person. Or what is more likely, it is not Matthew who wrote it. Matthew 9:9. I mean, I'm not married to the idea that Matthew wrote it, even if it's true. Oh yeah. That's right. Yeah. Well, maybe he might have been speaking of himself in the first person and the third person. Why not? People did that back then. But anyway, what I was saying to you guys about the Surah 547. Okay. So I'm very sorry. I was just showing you this already, but I mean I was talking about it before, but I was showing you the debate screen, right? So this is the Surah 547. Let the people of the gospel judge by what Allah has revealed in it, and those who do not judge by what Allah has revealed are truly the rebellious. So, says the people of the gospel should judge by what Allah has revealed in it. If the gospel or the Injil is whatever Islam approves, then this becomes meaningless because this is not telling us to check in the Quran what the gospel really is. It's saying to check in the gospel for what Allah has revealed and judge by that. Okay? So you can ask the Muslim, was the gospel usable for Christians then at the time? Yes or no? If they say no, then Allah is commanding them to use a book that is basically useless, right? And if they say yes, which is, by the way, if Allah commanded them to use a book that's useless, then that makes the Quran ridiculous. And if they say yes, then the whole claim that they have that the Bible is corrupted is no longer valid because they have to give you some kind of way to determine what Allah has revealed in the gospel and what isn't, you know? And it can't be just checking the Quran. It can't because that's circular logic, okay? So anyway, what they'll have to do is say that it's about legal matters and not doctrine, because what you see is in the previous verse 546, it was talking about the Torah. Then in the footsteps of the prophets, we sent Jesus, son of Mary, confirming the Torah revealed before him. And we gave him the gospel containing guidance and light and confirming what was revealed in the Torah, a guide and a lesson to the God-fearing. So this is basically endorsing the Torah and the gospel because it was given to Jesus by Allah. Okay? But because it's Torah, they'll often say that it's about the law in the Torah. And also here, if you go to 548, we revealed to you, O Prophet, this book with the truth as a confirmation of previous scriptures and a supreme authority on them. So judge between them by what Allah has revealed, and do not follow their desires over the truth that has come to you, to each of you. We have ordained a code of law and a way of life. If Allah had willed, He would have made you one community, but His will is to test you with what He has given each of you. So compete with one another in doing good. To Allah you will all return, and then He will inform you of the truth regarding your differences. So He's telling Muhammad here to the when it says a prophet, right? That's Allah speaking to Muhammad. So this book with the truth as a confirmation of the previous scriptures being the gospel and the Torah, and supreme authority on them. So judge between them by what Allah has revealed, and do not follow their desires over the truth that has come to you. So what they'll do is they'll say that it's legal material because To each of you, we have ordained a code of law and a way of life. So they'll say it's just about legal material, not about doctrine. But even if the occasion is legal disputes here, the wording still says, judged by what Allah has revealed in it, in the gospel, right? Judged by what Allah has revealed in it. The people of the gospel judged by what Allah has revealed in it. Right? So that's the authority claim about the gospel's contents. Saying the gospel is an authority. And so the whole legal versus doctrinal claim doesn't remove that basic issue. Was it usable as revelation back then or not, right? So you can ask them, was the gospel usable enough to judge by? Yes or no? And it's the same question. If it's yes, then that means the gospel is not corrupted. If they say no, then you say, well, why would Allah give this command then, right? And then another thing they'll often say is that this is past tense. Right? They'll say grammatically it's a command form, let the people of the gospel judge. But they'll say it's past tense, like they're speaking of people before Muhammad, right? But why would he give a command for now? Let the people of the gospel judge if it's in the past tense. So also past tense would be a different wording. It'd be different. It wouldn't be the same wording. So they could say that it means like a limited scope, not tense, right? But if they say tense, then it's not, there's no past tense here. So you can ask them, are you claiming the verb is past tense, or are you just claiming that it's restricted in its scope, you know? If it's tense, then show the tense in the Arabic grammar. Show the past tense there. It's not there. And if it's scope, well, how could Christians at Muhammad's time obey a command that doesn't apply to them? You know? If it's a commandment that applies to them, that makes sense because he's commanding them, the people of the gospel. But if it doesn't apply to them, why would he command this, right? So that's the problem with that. And then another thing they'll often say is that it means the original Injil, not the New Testament. The original gospel or Injil, right? So they're saying what they mean by that is that Jesus had an original revealed gospel that he came out with, and the New Testament later on was corrupted, right? But if that were the case, why is Allah telling Muhammad to let the people of the gospel judge by what they have in their hand? You know, he's talking about something that they have in their hand at the time. And if it's lost, if the actual Injil or actual gospel was lost by the time of Muhammad, then this command is just another empty instruction, as we were saying. So either it was accessible to them, then it makes sense, or if it was inaccessible and a lost book, then this command makes no sense. Sorry, hang on. Then sometimes they'll say, oh, so you see what it says, judged by what Allah has revealed in it. So what they're saying there is that it's not the whole book, but just only what Allah has revealed. Okay? But first of all, that's an admission that the gospel does contain some real revelation. They have to admit that. It's not totally corrupted. And now they have to give us some kind of method for determining what Allah has revealed and what he hasn't. Like the people back then, this is the command that he gave. So the people in the New Testament time, or sorry, in Muhammad's time, would have had to have been able to determine what Allah has revealed in it and what he hasn't. And if the Muslim is saying that there's only some parts that are what Allah has revealed and other parts are not, then they have to be able to show you how to do that. All right? If they can't do that, then they have no grounds to make that claim. They can't say whatever agrees with the Quran because that's just circular. That's not what this says. It doesn't say check in the Quran. It says check in your book, you know? And so if they try to say this, they can say, how could Christians then identify the parts that that they're supposed to check for without the Quran or something like that. They need to give you that method. Another thing they'll say is that, see how it says here, we revealed to you, O Prophet, that's Muhammad, this book with the truth as a confirmation of previous scriptures being the Bible, and a supreme authority on them. So that is, they're saying that the Quran is a supreme authority on the Bible. Okay? So Muslims will have to say that, oh, it's a supreme authority. That means it corrects the. Okay? Hey, Typical. How are you, brother? I heard something weird on my. I think it's because I clicked this thing. Anyway. But even if you take this as supreme authority, it only works if there is some kind of usable thing that's real in the gospel, right? And 547 still commands us to check in the gospel for what's revealed, not to check in the Quran. So even if they say that the Quran is correcting the gospel or something like that, we're told to judge by what's revealed in the gospel, not the Quran. So correction. So even if there is corrections in this Quran for this, it doesn't fix the problem, Because if they're trying to say that doesn't mean that doesn't matter at all, then they're basically making this verse meaningless, So that doesn't make sense. And then another thing they'll say is that Christians changed it later after Muhammad. But we can say that no, then give us a century when that changed. Tell us when it changed, and give us the mechanism. How did they do it? Because if it was usable in the 600s, the 6th, 7th century after Christ's death, and by that time would have been spread all over Europe, all over Western Asia, all over North Africa, right? So there's thousands and thousands of Bibles out there. So if they corrupted it after that, how could they do that? How could they corrupt all those Bibles all over the place? It's almost impossible, right? So, and if they were able to do that, there'd be some kind of way to trace that. We would be able to trace that. It would be impossible to hide that. So if they're trying to say it was corrupted after Muhammad, they have to show that, and they can't. Okay. And we have like copies of the New Testament from before Muhammad, right, which are identical to what we have today. Basically, there's a few changes, but all of these things that are important, like the crucifixion, the fact that Jesus is the Son of God, all those things are already in all the Bibles we have from before. So, yeah. And then sometimes they'll say you can't interpret the Quran without the Tafsir. Tafsir are these scholarly writings about the Quran that kind of help them interpret it. But the Tafsir doesn't override the plain wording. This is just plain speech. Let the people of the gospel judge by what Allah has revealed in it. So we don't need a Tafsir to tell us how to interpret that. It's telling us to judge by what Allah has revealed in the gospel. That's very simple, right? And so if some Tafsir is trying to change that into some other thing that's not what it plainly says, they're not explaining the Quran. They're just escaping it. They're trying to get away from what it plainly says, So if they try to say that it's past tense, or the Tafsir says it's past tense or whatever, or the Tafsir says that we don't have to study it that way, it's like, explain why. Explain what in this plain language am I supposed to understand that you're not, the Tafsir can't explain to me, So that's it. Yeah. So Quran 547 says, "Let the people of the gospel judge by what Allah has revealed in it." So you can ask the Muslim, was the gospel usable for them at that time? Yes or no? And if the answer is yes, then they can't dismiss the gospel as corrupt. Or they have to give you some kind of method for how to determine what is from Allah and what isn't, right? And if they say no, that the gospel was not usable for them, then that means Allah gave a command that cannot be followed, which means the Quran is not perfect, all right? So that's the so-called Islamic dilemma. If you ever heard of that. Anyway, that's what I wanted to talk to you guys about. I'll probably edit this when I put it out as a clip, but that's just for you to see how to do that. We could talk about this other thing. The atheists were bugging me the other day too. So let me show you that. Excuse me. Anyway, they're talking to this Catholic kid about about being a Christian or something. And they start talking to him about how yeah. Okay. So what they're basically trying to he's trying to explain them the essence energy distinction. It's kind of not essence energy, sorry, essence identity distinction or something like that. So wait. And then they're gonna play my stupid song. So embarrassing. Sorry. I'm trying to find this thing where they're saying this. They made a song about me, man. This idiots. It's just well poisoning. So when they say, "Oh, atheists and agnostics can conceive of a world without God," what they're trying to say is that if they can conceive of it, that means it's logically possible, right? And this guy's saying, "No. Oh, sorry, you guys. I'm so dumb. My bad. I don't know why I do that. Okay. So, I'm so sorry. Thanks, Glory. My bad, bro. Anyway, so what they're going to say is that conceivability is not logical possibility, or the guy's trying to say that. He's the Catholic guy.
So
between the two.
conceivability is a
Yeah,
logical
they're-
possibility, is what you're
Not
saying.
not necessarily, no.
But you said
So
could.
does God have a mind?
Yeah, God has a mind.
So 100% of observed minds are in virtue of brains. Therefore, all minds are in virtue.
Actually, technically, in the proper classical theist understanding, God doesn't have a mind. Okay, he is like, because a mind would be separate, like be apart. You know, what it is that God is the ground of all being, right? So therefore, he's the ground of all mind-like things. And so anything that grounds a mind must have a mind-like qualities. That's what it is. All right. No, this is yogurt. But anyway,
Virtue. Does God have a mind?
Yeah, God has a mind.
So 100% of observed minds are in virtue of brains. Therefore, all minds are in virtue of brains.
Well, that doesn't
Welcome to
follow because,
atheism,
like,
brother.
no.
see, 100% of observed minds are in virtue of brains. Therefore, all minds are in virtue of brains. See what they're trying to say? So they're basically saying that if God has a mind and he doesn't have a body or a brain, and all minds are in virtue of brains, that means your God is logically impossible. But they haven't shown that. They're just saying that because all they've shown is that 100% of observed minds are in virtue of brains. That doesn't show that all minds are in virtue of brains. We don't know. There may be some other mind we haven't observed that is not in virtue of brains, right? So that's the whole move.
No, that doesn't follow.
All right, then provide one example of a mind without a brain.
Sure, I think every human mind is immaterial because when we
So now they're saying that we have to show an example. We don't have to show an example. Okay? If they go from the observation that all the minds that we've observed have a brain to this claim that, oh, that means that all minds have brains and it's impossible for minds to not have a brain, that doesn't follow. That's just ridiculous. Okay? But then this guy starts trying to answer them and stuff, but anyway.
They all have brains.
Yeah, they operate through material aspects.
I said one
This doesn't mean
example
that
of
they
a
don't have an
mind without
immaterial
a
operation.
brain.
Yeah. You're not.
We don't have to show an example, okay? This is called the shifting of the burden of proof. Like, they're trying to say that it's impossible for a mind to exist without a brain. So they have to prove that. But because they don't have any ability to prove that, now they're trying to say, oh, well, you have to show me an example of a mind without a brain. Well, no, I don't have to show you that. If you're trying to make the claim that it's impossible, well, prove that. If you can't prove that, then that's not a proven claim, you know?
You're actually not answering Taco's question there, right? Like, he asked you for example. Let's not litigate dualism. He's asking you for something specific here.
Yeah, it's simply one example of one mind without a brain. Something very easy for you to provide if this was something that existed.
Yeah, you.
But Taco has a brain. I'm pretty sure Taco, you don't have like a chip in your head like in Gundam or like Battle Angel Alita, right?
No, I'm a normal person.
I believe you.
Yeah, but when we say that a mind without a brain, you're saying a mind that operates independently of the brain, right?
I don't know what a mind without a brain would be. The mind appears to be the brain. I don't know what you're talking about when you say shit like that. You just sound like an insane person. Also,
So you see how they try to insult the guy? Oh, you sound like an insane person just for saying that, just for asking the question. You know? I know the game proved they have a brain. Exactly, dude. So sad. So sad. But I don't know what's
people. I haven't been asking for super chats today, and that was a bad idea. We're at 36 minutes on the super chat goal with 2 super chats out of 20. And if you barely like the show, make sure to slam
mind where there isn't a brain coupled with it. Like even your view, even as you listed, is that, oh, well, yeah, sure, these minds operate through brains. But if there are minds without brains, if they're truly distinct, then you should be able to find something that is not connected. Can you find one?
Well, yeah, you seem to have like switching on there, so I want to clarify. Are you asking me if there is a mind that can operate independently of the brain, or a mind without a brain at all, or like a non-body?
Yeah, well, it's very simple. You're claiming a mind without a brain exists, so we're asking you to provide a mind without a brain so we can verify this is a real thing in reality, not just
Oh no, I was saying what I was claiming is
drunken thing you're saying, right?
Oh no, what I was saying is that minds operate independently of the
See,
brain.
this is the burden shift is when they ask you for an example. Okay, they're trying to prove, or they're trying to claim that it's impossible for a mind to exist without a brain. They have no proof of this. Their only evidence is that all observed minds have brains. So that doesn't prove that it's impossible for a mind to exist without a brain. And so they're trying to shift the burden of proof to say, oh, you have to provide an example, otherwise it's impossible. Well, no, I don't have to provide an example. It's ludicrous to try to claim. It's like saying that I talk about this later. It's like saying that all swans we've ever observed are white, therefore a black swan is impossible. You know? Now we know that black swans are possible. They're just very rare, you know? So it's just ridiculous.
That's what I'm saying. I'm not saying that it's not attached, because we don't believe that you can. The only creatures we believe that have minds that are not bodily or angels, but we don't think you can.
I come on around here sometime.
Let's assume dualism, mind-body dualism, is true. Okay.
Oh, 1 second. 1 second.
Now I gotta play.
There's one of the things you notice when you have to look at that is these physical principles seemed aligned in such a way that's not conducive to someone who wanted to make these things connect. Is the argument not some sort of big grand metaphysical statement?
So
I didn't say you can't.
I'm confused. You sound like a flat earther. Every atheist
I can't find
mine is immaterial.
Sorry, no, this is what I can.
This is right, but that would be the inductive conclusion there.
What do you think about that?
Why is this so hard? This is the song. They made a song about me. These guys. They're so bad. This is well put. They played a song that where it says supposedly I'm like, I always lose all the debates when it's just well poisoning. I know. They can't prove it. They can't prove it, man. They can't prove that. Well, they try to say that it's like, what do they call it? The mind is an emergent property. But the fact that all of the
strawman me, if you over
he said that
your mic was going. All right, I unmuted you there. Sorry, your mic was going crazy there, White Fun. And welcome back. Welcome, PBS.
Hello. So you guys have got this kid running around again, but he said the right thing originally, which is the same thing that you kicked me off yesterday when I was explaining this to you. But the fact that all of the
strawman me. If you overtalk me or strawman me, I'm kicking you from the channel.
Excuse me.
If you overtalk anybody, I'm kicking you.
You see, he's like swearing and just yelling. Oh, I'll kick you. It's just all about dominance. Trying to play this game of like, it's all optics for them, right? Because they don't have an argument. They do not have an argument. Okay.
You from the channel. Do you understand me? Nod
Can
your
I
head.
finish? Can I finish my
Nod
point?
your head, yes or no, or I'm kicking you from the channel.
Yes.
All right, so don't overtalk. So the reason I kicked you yesterday was because you overtalked me constantly, and I kept telling you not to overtalk.
I was trying to say he kicked me. He never kicked me yesterday. I left, or this is yesterday, the day before yesterday.
Anyways, welcome to the channel. Please behave.
All right, you didn't kick me yesterday. I quit. I left. But anyway,
I was about to kick you.
Sure. Okay. All observed minds have brains. does not entail that all minds have brains. That's what I said. So your induction,
Yeah, that would be the
your
inductive
argument from
inference.
yeah, that's not that doesn't show, it doesn't establish
Or
impossibility or
I don't
anything
know if
like that.
inference is right, but that would be the inductive conclusion there.
That induction doesn't
well,
even follow. That's like
It
saying
doesn't
that. Well,
follow. Yes, exactly. That's
finish,
what
let
this
me
young
finish.
man said already. This young man just told you it doesn't follow. You start asking for an example. He doesn't need to provide an example. You have not shown
How
a
does it not
possibility.
follow?
Wait, I was gonna. Can I finish my thought? Because that's like saying that if we know that data, like say for example, every brain is material, if we're claiming the mind is immaterial, and observation is something material, then we wouldn't even expect to observe immaterial minds, right? We'd be able to reason to them, but we wouldn't observe them. The
Dude,
same way
don't
we
go
can
there.
say
Don't
in
go there,
induction,
bro. Don't go there,
it's
man.
because there's
Don't
10
go there.
apples, 10 apples in front of me.
I don't know.
No, it's like this. It's like this.
Topic.
Just because every swan we ever saw was white doesn't prove the black swan is impossible. As I said yesterday.
You can't. So you're just saying that there could be a black swan. Then present the black swan. It's a probabilistic argument. It's inductive.
Right.
You're saying it's impossible. You said therefore it's impossible.
No, he's saying that therefore we're justified in not believing in it.
No, he never said that. That's not what he said.
And then Jessica put mute triggers up for words. Idiot, stupid, nonsense, ridiculous, dumb, and necessary.
Yeah, so he didn't say.
Those are all my words. That's why she's putting that. Those are words that I'll say this is ridiculous. This is nonsense. You know what I mean? I'll say that about their dumb arguments.
That's Kieran Dave. Now you're saying that you
words. Idiot, stupid, nonsense, ridiculous, dumb, and necessary.
Yeah, so he didn't say that, Kieran Dave. Now you're saying that. You changed the argument. Now you're moving the goalpost.
It's an inductive argument. What the hell do you want?
See, so what they're doing is moving the goal. They were saying previously that all minds are virtual brains, therefore all minds must have brains. Or all sorry. They were saying all observed minds are virtual brains, therefore all minds must have brains. And the fact that everything you've observed thus far has brains, every mind you've observed, doesn't prove that all minds everywhere in all like places have brains. That's not a given. Okay. So that's what they were trying to say before. Now they're saying, oh, well, you have to give us an example or whatever. But it's not the case. We don't have to give an example.
You said that all observed minds have brains, therefore all minds have brains.
No, 100% of observed minds have brains. This is based off of observation.
Yes, and you said therefore all minds have brains. That's not just so.
Yeah, it's based off of observation, extrapolating, and then making an shit. I had the word yesterday.
It doesn't follow.
It starts with an A. Howdy, what's the word?
Abduction?
Where it's induction, it's expanding from
talking about strong and potent or something else.
No. It starts with an A.
You said anyway, ampliability.
Ampliative. Yeah, listen, I used that yesterday and I was blanking on it today, but it's ampliative, dude. It is inductive and it's probabilistic.
It doesn't matter. You said this is. I don't care what you call it. These are the words that came out of your mouth. All observed minds have brains. Therefore, all minds have brains.
No, I said 100%. I said 100% of observed minds have brains.
Okay, well, that's the same thing. But you're saying that therefore, hold on, you're saying therefore all minds have brains. That doesn't follow.
No, it's extrapolating from the observed to
the
unobserved.
It doesn't follow.
It's
no, it doesn't.
Ampliative. And then Pug
whatever,
saying,
who cares?
And no,
what I'm trying to say is ampliative. If you just say these words, all observed minds have brains, therefore all minds have brains, right? It's not like I don't have to like assume that you're speaking inductively or whatever. That just doesn't follow. That's just what that means in English, you know? You made a mistake. Your argument is flawed. Your argument is a fallacy, you know? But so then now he's trying to suggest, oh, it's ampliative or whatever. Like, I don't even know what that means, you know? Who cares? the words on the page don't make sense. It's not a logical argument. That's my point. It doesn't follow, you know? They're just trying to get out of it by saying words like, oh, it's ampliative, it's like inductive or whatever. Like, dude.
What a monstrous equipeladiliophobia.
Your inference does
Thank you
not
so
follow,
much, you two.
okay?
Okay.
Can I infer from the existence of all observed minds having brains that all minds have brains? You can't do that. That's not a valid inference.
Yeah.
Howdy,
Okay,
do you not understand this?
can I add something?
How is that not a valid inference?
Because
well, it can't be valid because it's inductive. Inductive.
He's obviously not talking about formal logic when he's talking about some like colloquial version of valid.
Like he disapproves.
Yeah.
Do you just hate induction?
Now they're trying to say, oh, it's just induction. It's not like if you're making an inductive argument, if you're saying, oh, all the swans we've ever seen are white, so therefore it's probably true that all swans are white. That's an inductive argument. That's a valid inductive argument. Or I don't know if valid is the right term for it, but whatever. It's like that's a proper way to phrase it if it's inductive. Every time we see the sun go up and every time we see the sun rise, it rises in the east. Therefore, tomorrow it will probably rise in the east. That's how you phrase it. If you say every time we see the sun rise, it rises in the east. Therefore, tomorrow it will rise in the east. It will, right? That doesn't follow. That's just all that is. You know? You're saying no. I'm not saying that. You're trying to say that it's impossible for a mind without a brain to exist just because you observed every mind you observed has a brain. Well, that doesn't follow.
That's not what he was saying.
That's stupid. It is what they're saying. They said it 5 times.
No, I mean it's implied when he says it's inductive that he's not claiming the impossibility of the opposite. He's just saying
if he's not claiming the impossibility, then what is the problem? Why do we have to come up with a counter?
He's giving a probabilistic argument for every mind being a brain. That's the.
It wasn't a probabilistic argument. He literally said, all minds have brains, therefore all observed minds have brains, therefore all minds have brains. That was what he said. Now this Catholic guy's trying to like save them. I don't know why. But anyway. The point is this, that the fact that you observe something like all minds have brains, all observed minds have brains, doesn't mean that every mind in the universe has a brain, you know, or every mind that exists. All right. Dude, you're letting them get away with this. If it's a probabilistic argument, then God is not impossible. They're trying to say God is impossible. That's what they're trying to say. That's the exact thing he said yesterday.
The argument
literally said
it's not the same thing.
So TBS, what happened was he denied conceivability as logical possibility, and he claims his God has a mind and no brain. So I provided the argument for minds requiring brains.
We don't need that's the thing. When you say that, the guy said that conceivability is not possibility. So that's what they always go to this thing of minds and brains. Like, you know, this is what they always do the same. They run the same script, and no step in their argument makes any sense. And it's just a bunch of like atheists who back each other up. And this one guy, Howdy, who's like an agnostic or whatever, he backs them up. But none of these things make any sense. Okay, if I say conceivability is not logical possibility, like what I'm saying is the mere fact that you can conceive of something doesn't prove that it's logically possible. Okay, there's things you can conceive of that are not logically possible. Okay, what does that have to do with the idea that all observed minds have brains, therefore all minds have brains? That has nothing to do with it. It's not even related. It's irrelevant, you know. But they always bring this up because I don't know where they come up with this stuff. It's just bizarre. It's just weird. To have conceivability is not part of the argument for God existing without a brain, or God having a mind without a brain. It's not. We don't need
Right. He said
conceivability.
conceivability is a
argument.
logical possibility. That's why we're here.
So we don't need conceivability is irrelevant to this.
Yeah, we've already moved past it. That's why we're here. Are you?
Yeah. Okay.
What?
Are you a ding dong? Do you not? Are you a ding dong?
Let's see. Anyway, whatever. So now they just start insulting. You know, are you a ding dong? Like the other day he was like swearing at me. Like they're just freaking out. Because I'm just pointing out how weak their argument is. You know. Let me see what they say. I can't remember what this
conversation.
You guys, no.
I mean, obviously you are ding dong.
No probabilistic
conversation.
No probabilistic argument is establishing impossibility. So why are you even bringing it up? What significance does it have? The fact that
you're
God
going to
doesn't
have to
a
provide
brain?
some type of defeasible. It's shifting the burden of proof to you to provide defeasible evidence for it.
So now they're trying to say that because they have some kind of probabilistic argument that shifts the burden of proof to me. So in order to prove that God is possible now, because they have some probabilistic argument that he's not possible, therefore now it's on me to provide an example. Like that's what they're trying to do. And this Catholic guy is just like eating it up. I have no idea. I think he's just kind of going along with their flow. He likes them or something. Like he wants to be cool with them. Like, so it's just sad. The whole thing is just so sad.
For a disembodied mind.
No, I don't. No, I
yes,
don't. Anyway,
you do. This is a burden shift, TBS. I have shifted the burden successfully.
Excuse me. Shifting the burden. They have not shifted the burden. Okay.
The feasible evidence says TBS can't rebut whatever doesn't matter. All right. So whatever doesn't matter are being added to the list as well. Thank you so much.
The defeasible evidence was always just the contingency argument or whatever Thomistic argument he was going to come up with.
No, you're actually going to have to provide some type of like actual defeasible evidence, right? You're not going to be able to say like a cosmological argument or like something like that for this.
No, we were going to say the contingency argument or some.
You're going to have to provide something that shows a mind can exist without a brain, TBS.
No, I don't. I don't have to show that. It's possible. You haven't shown it's impossible.
Evidence here.
You haven't even. No, I don't. I don't have to show anything.
You are so lost. I'm just done ramming.
You see what they do? Oh, you're so lost. He's just insisting. He's just insisting on this thing. Why do I have to show that? Like, why do I have to show that? You know what I mean? It's just completely foolish. I don't know what they're saying. Yeah, it's partly that. Partly like their false beliefs. Their false beliefs that hold them up against the knowledge of God. You know, their false prideful beliefs that they hold up against the knowledge of God. Tear that down. The strongholds. You know, that's what that is. That's what this is. That's what I'm doing. Absolutely joking. I'm trying to do it here, you know, but it's not working very well. Anyway, I'm just gonna leave soon.
That's a mute. That is a mute right there. Oh, he left?
Yeah.
Oh no, he's back. Okay. That is a mute right there, TB. Oh, he left. Okay, that's a $2 bounty on TBS.
I don't know. Like, you don't. Taco's just justified in believing the thing is the argument, not.
No, you're not justified in believing. Like, let's say all the minds you observe in the world have brains, right? All the created minds. Does that justify you in believing that God must have a brain or something, or that God couldn't exist without a brain? What kind of ridiculous nonsense is that? You know? No, they can't. No, they refuse all tag arguments. They come up with this type of thing. They're talking about like it's just ridiculous. It's completely ridiculous. Like this guy was on here arguing tag, and they said like this other guy was arguing with him, and I came on after the after show after the debate to like ask the questions. So I asked the guy. I was like, "Hey man." He's trying to deny that logical laws like the law of identity and the law of non-contradiction exist in and of themselves, you know? So I was trying to say, well, okay, before there were humans, was the planet Earth the same thing as the planet Mars? You know? Or were they different things? Were they different things with their own identities? He's like, well, you know, physically they're different. I'll show you that one too. I'll show you some of the stuff these people say. It's absolutely insane. Have you always been KGVO? If not, since when and how? I haven't always been, but I was very early on. I became KGVO pretty much in my Christian life. Anyway, I don't know if that was that good of a breakdown, but anyway, that's my first breakdown. It's hard to break these guys down because it's so chaotic. I can't even remember all the stuff that happened, but that's my breakdown of how ridiculous these guys are. Not ridiculous, but they're burden shifting. They're shifting of the argument and the evidence. All right, I just wanted to kind of give you an idea of what that is all about over there. Do you kids should read KJV? Yeah, I do. I do. Have I always been since when and how? So it was like, okay, I got converted, and I was reading the King James. I just appreciated the King James literary beauty, and I noticed when I read the other Bibles that they were absolutely horrifically bad. You know, in terms of the writing, just the writing. And so I was like, well, I just like this more. And then as I studied the issue more, I found out that there's actually quite a bit of evidence for this claim that the KJV is perfect and other Bibles are imperfect, you know? So then I started researching more and more, and I became KJVO. And the more I've studied it, the more I was certain I become. It's not as if like the more I study it, that I come up with doubts, you know? The more I study it, the more certain I become. And that's the interesting thing. Like even this stuff like evolution, not like I'm turning towards evolution, but I can see why they believe it now. You know, I can see the evidence. There is evidence. It's somewhat strong or whatever, scientific from a scientific point of view. I get what they're saying. With KJVO, the more I study it, the more I'm certain that it's 100% perfect in every word that it states. You know. Yeah, if they agree there's a difference between the Earth and Mars before humans in identity, right? The identity of Earth is different than the identity of Mars. It's the thing is a thing in and of itself. A thing is a thing in itself, right? Not some other thing. Earth is Earth and Mars is Mars. And so he's kind of like, well, yeah, all the chemicals and the physical structures are different, but you know, he's like trying to like get out of it, you know, because if they admit it, then they have to admit like logical laws, then they have to admit something transcendental, you know. Evolution. I don't believe evolution. I don't. I also don't believe old Earth, but I understand why they're making the argument. I won't just dismiss the evidence as I once did, you know. And now I have to. I make the more evidence. I'll say like this. Like the evidence for evolution scientifically is not easily dismissed. It's not, okay? However, what can I say about it? The evidence for evolution is not easily dismissed. However, they don't actually look at the other evidence. For example, the philosophical reasons why we believe in God. They don't even look at it, you know? They don't even acknowledge it. And then when you go from the philosophical reasons to believe in God, then you go from that to the philosophical reasons of why the Trinity and the God of the Bible is the truth and Jesus. And then the historical evidence for Jesus, etc., right? All the evidence for the Bible being true. It's like there's more evidence that makes me doubt their claims. And all their claims, although they do have strong evidence for evolution or for their older theory, it doesn't mean that it's perfect or completely scientific. It's like, yeah, not scientific. Well, it's scientific in the sense that I was going to talk about that. It's like abductive logic, right? Now we talked about this before, like, so you have inductive. you have deductive logic, inductive logic, and abductive logic, right? Hang on, let me show you something. Let me see if I can do this. If you can see context, you can see minds. There's no brain probability goes out the window. I know exactly. Exactly, bro. What am I doing here? I'm trying to figure out how to prove this to Glory. So the argument from the deduction is like, you know the one, Socrates is a man. Socrates, all men must die, therefore Socrates must die, right? And then you have, that's deduction. Then you have induction, where it's like, every day we see the sun rise in the east, therefore the sun will probably rise in the east again tomorrow. Okay, that's induction. And abduction is like, okay, we see all these evidences, we see all this data, let's say data like such as the fossil record or radiometric dating and things like this, right? We see these evidences, their data, and then we explain it with a model. We explain it. It's like, okay, how can we explain this data? What kind of story could we give to explain how this data came about? And so they give you that explanation. That's abductive logic, okay? I don't know why I put this whiteboard up. Like, I can't even use it, but anyway, so when you look at their abductive data, there is reason to believe evolution from their perspective. Their perspective is one where there's no God, or they don't even resort to a God for explanation of anything in the universe, etc. Right? From that perspective, yes, you might go with the God thing. But if we believe the Bible is true, as we do, then we have reason to doubt their theory. And their theory is not testable in any way, right? We can't really test whether that's true or not. There could be some other explanation, you know? It's like I was saying to you about, okay, let's say you come downstairs and you see in the hallway there's a wet umbrella. Okay, the umbrella is wet in the hallway, right? And you can say, well, okay, the umbrella is wet, therefore it's raining outside. In the hallway. Therefore, rain outside. Okay. But maybe you're not aware of all the other facts. There's other data you're not aware of, such as your kid took the umbrella outside. It was playing with the kid next door, and they were spraying him with the hose, and he was using the hose. He was using the umbrella to guard himself from the hose. Then he came inside, put the umbrella down, and he went and dried off. So you come downstairs, you see a wet umbrella, you think, oh, it rained. It's not a bad inference. It's logical to think that, but you just don't have all the data, right? And they're kind of ignoring a lot of the data because they're ignoring the fact that the Bible is true. They're just refusing to admit that, right? So that's why we can still doubt evolution and old Earth, and so even though they do have fairly good evidence, you know. Well, I wouldn't say that. I didn't realize how strong it was. I used to watch people answer the Genesis or things like that and see their arguments. And I would say, oh, okay, well, it's not that strong. But if you actually look at it closely, it is fairly strong. It's stronger than what Answers in Genesis would have you believe. You know? I mean, I've taught you guys on this channel about stuff like about that, where I was basically making fun of evolutionists, but it's not that dumb. But it is basically wrong because of what I just told you. Like, they just don't take into account all the data, right? They just refuse to acknowledge all the data. Strong evidence. Well, there's different things. Like, for example, if you look at this thing called ERVs or endogenous retroviruses, I used to think it was dumb, but it's not a bad argument, actually. Let me show you that. So what it is that there's like viruses that went into the human genome or the genome of our ancestors, right? At certain specific parts of the genome. And then in these other creatures that are supposedly related to us, like chimpanzees and stuff, they're in their genome in the exact same location. Okay? And then those particular things are in those animals that are in those particular gene locations in the exact like family tree hierarchy that you would expect if they were our common ancestors, you know? It's not like they just appear randomly. They appear in those exact locations in the exact same species in that you know, in that tree, family tree phylogeny or whatever, right? So that's why it is a fairly strong argument. I'm not saying it's impossible to overcome, but it's not just going to be like easily overcome. And people such as creationists who try to just throw evolution in the garbage, they'll say, well, you know, it's part of design, you know? We have to ask, why would God design us and these chimpanzees and these apes to all have this weird, like, viral junk DNA in exactly the same spot, the exact same location? Yeah. And some of them are useful, so they're not all junk. But even the useful ones don't really prove what they're trying to say, what creationists try to say. Yeah, SFT does, but like I say, their arguments are weak, man. His arguments, Answers in Genesis. I'll talk to you guys about it soon. Probably maybe next week or sometime soon. I'll talk to you guys about this stuff. But Answers in Genesis and SFT and people like that, they don't have very good arguments, man. They can't overcome these arguments. And I've talked to you guys about stuff like this before because I'll look at like dumb arguments, you know, and I'll just be like, this is dumb. But actually, if you look at the proper arguments, they're not that dumb. So, for example, I was showing you like that woman, Gutsa Gibbon, her arguments on do I have better arguments? Better arguments than ERVs? Or this is one of the stronger ones, but I don't know. Well, what do you think? Do you think this is dumb? This is a strong argument, bro. This is very difficult to overcome. You know? For example, humans and chimps share 7 ERVs in identical genomic locations. A pattern consistent with inheritance from a common ancestor or not independent infection. I meant than SFT. Better arguments than SFT. Better arguments against these things. Well, like I say to you, I don't think the solution is to try to necessarily beat their scientific arguments, because we don't really have the means at this time. I would just say that we go with the philosophical argument for God being real, God being moral, God being such as the God of the Bible. All right? Because although they'll try to tell you that because evolution is true, that means God isn't real, that's not true. The fact is that science relies on this notion of cause and effect, you know? And so there must have been some kind of first cause. Otherwise, there can't be a chain of cause and effect, you know? So, and yeah, there's other holes with it too, right? Like the fact that abiogenesis is a major problem for them. They can't explain the origin of life, you know? So stuff like that. There are problems. There are problems. I'm not saying there aren't problems. So it's something to be worried about. I'm not telling you to freak out, to doubt your faith or anything. Don't doubt I never doubted for 1 second. Don't doubt the Bible. Don't doubt your faith. Don't doubt Jesus. That's ridiculous. Okay. However, if we want to be intellectually honest and deal with these guys in a proper way and with their arguments and actually convince them to become Christians, well, we have to engage these arguments in a legitimate way that's not self-defeating, you know? So that's why we have to go. We have to talk about these things in a proper way and not just kind of dismiss them, you know? So here's the presence of identical ERVs in the same genomic locations across related species, such as humans and chimpanzees, strongly supports shared ancestry, as the probability of the same virus inserting into the exact same spot independently in different species is astronomically low. So that's true, but there could be other reasons. Like people will say, creationists will say, well, there's certain parts of the genome that are like kind of hot spots for viral infection, and so that's why, you know, maybe that's not that strong of an argument, because we don't see, if that were true, we would see that in like more places, you know, we would see this type of thing. Or it's like, why are these things hotspots? You know, why are these particular places hotspots? You know, how the ERV equals evolution, though, could it not be explained through a supernatural way? Oh yeah. Anything can be explained supernaturally, but the idea is that, okay, well, we can see that most of the time God's just kind of letting the world run. Most of the time, right? There are miracles, of course, but if we just say, well, oh, it was because of a miracle, you can say that about anything, you know. It starts to make your argument seem weak, you know. So better to just say, okay, I acknowledge your evidence, I acknowledge your data, I get it, but I'm just reserving judgment because there could be other data that you're not aware of. There could be other things happening here that you're not cognizant of. So until you are, I'm gonna reserve judgment, because the evidence for the Bible is very strong. The evidence for Jesus Christ's resurrection is very strong. The evidence for you know, the Bible itself, etc., right? So, and God himself, you know, and God being good, God being a Trinity, all these things, there's strong evidence for those things, which scientists basically ignore. So they don't, so as much as they do have good arguments, they also ignore very other strong arguments that we have. So there's other problems with this, you know. Now, one thing a lot of the creationists will say is that ERVs are not just junk DNA, but they play critical biological roles, which is strange, right? Because you're talking about a virus that came into the genome and now it plays a critical biological role, you know? So that's very strange, right? And you may see some of those things doing it, but really, are all of them doing it, or most of them, or whatever? That's weird. So that tends to lean me towards more creationist ways of thinking. Like it's there for a reason because God put it there, you know? But so then we might see the same ERV in different species that kind of look like they're related or whatever because God had a purpose for them in the beginning, right? So there's ways to explain it, but there's constraints on that in terms of explanatory power and stuff. So I will talk to you guys about this more soon, okay? Hopefully I can talk to you about it on Thursday, maybe. Well, we'll see though. But I wouldn't worry. Don't worry about it. Okay, that's one thing I'll tell you. Don't make this thing make you feel like, oh, we have to doubt God or anything. That's not the case. This is not like we're talking about people making these claims about millions of years ago, based on some evidence they have today, some data they have today. And some of this, like I'm saying, I'm not dismissing it, but the idea that you could just reach back into millions of years ago based on data you have today, it's not an argument that can't be overcome by any means, right? No, I was thinking to do a live on Thursday about this issue or something like this, or maybe next week. I'm not sure. What did I want to do? I wanted to do something on Thursday. I forget now. Anyway, I've been kind of going through between. Last week we did this last week we did what did we do? The epistemology thing. So I was gonna wait 2 weeks to do it again. Maybe I'll do it this Thursday. Maybe if I can. But yeah, so although ERVs are kind of interesting. Oh, Vision, that's what it was. That's what it was. That's what it was. That's what it was. Thank you, Glory. Thank you very much. I didn't want to do Vision again because I feel like we just did him all before, but now Boats was saying that maybe I should. Maybe I shouldn't because Boats doesn't need more. He doesn't need me to just debunk what's his name. It's just gonna make it look like. I know what you're thinking. I know you're thinking that, right? What's gonna happen is if I do that, he's gonna start thinking, oh, Mike's trying to mind control me or whatever, you know? Like that's what people like. It's not even about that, right? But it's like he's not. I don't think he just thinks Derek's making good arguments. So if I debunk Derek's arguments, then he'll come back around. You know, people. It's more about what people feel. Anyway, sorry guys. This is supposed to be boring, eh? My bad. I don't think it was the best live I ever did, but maybe I shouldn't have rushed it. I don't know. I'm gonna talk to both. So. No. I don't think that. I don't think that, Glory. But what I think is that things sometimes affect people in different ways, and they have different ways of dealing with their stresses. And he's not rebellious, man. He's not rebellious. He just wants to be a person that thinks for himself, you know, which is understandable. Sam Shamoon, Jay Dyer, and Andrew Wilson believe Christians can curse.
Faith. So yeah, so that's kind of what he's saying.
That's what we need, bro.
And here we have Trent Horn saying, I didn't condemn potty words. For example, it's not a real, it's not a big deal to praise something as F and A, but FU is almost a communication of sinful anger. That kind of wrath is incompatible with Christian life. So that's kind of what I was saying with the basketball thing. Again, I personally, I wouldn't.
Obviously, you shouldn't swear, man. It's so obvious. It's like undeniable facts.
Quick.
Anyway, I don't want to do this anymore. I don't want to do this debate stuff anymore. It's so much. All right, so that's what I'll do, guys. I'll get something ready for Thursday. Maybe we'll talk about this thing. I don't want to talk about the misvision thing right now because anyway, we'll see. Anyway, thanks, guys. I'll talk to you soon. Hopefully keep praying for all the brothers and sisters that are looking for answers in all the wrong places, all right? And I'll pray for you, and we'll all pray for each other, and God will take care of everything, guys. So God bless. Thanks for watching Toronto Bible Study. Hallelujah.
The Holy Bible, the King James Version. The Book of Psalms, Psalm 1. Blessed is the man that walketh not in the counsel of the ungodly, nor standeth in the way of sinners, nor sitteth in the seat of the scornful. But his delight is in the law of the Lord, and in his law doth he meditate day and night. And he shall be like a tree planted by the rivers of water, that bringeth forth his fruit in his season. His leaf also shall not wither, and whatsoever he doeth shall prosper. The ungodly are not so, but are like the chaff which the wind driveth away. Therefore the ungodly shall not stand in the judgment, nor sinners in the congregation of the righteous. For the Lord knoweth the way of the righteous, but the way of the ungodly shall perish.